The House has passed legislation to reauthorize what's known as the FISA surveillance program. It allows for the U.S. to track the movements of foreigners located outside of the U.S. without a warrant. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion is on Capitol Hill. So, Nikole, why are lawmakers holding a vote on this bill today, even though it was blocked in the House just 2 days ago?
Well, if you go back to that calendar that you just showed, they really don't have any choice. I mean, they have a week to reauthorize this. Otherwise, the program could expire, which national security experts have warned would be very detrimental to the government's ability to conduct warrantless surveillance. So this is something that has to get done. And so that's why you are seeing the House make yet another attempt. Now, they did kind of rework the legislation, tweak the rules a little bit to try to get around those 19 House Republicans who blocked the legislation, and they did that in part by shortening the time period by which the FISA program would be reauthorized down to 2 years instead of 5. The Speaker also noting that this includes a number of critical reforms, and really a lot of the debate over this has been over the scope of the government's surveillance powers and the Balancing Act when it comes to people's personal liberties. While this Section 702 targets foreigners overseas, there are times when Americans' data could be at risk. And so that is really the concern that some lawmakers have had within the course of the debate.
Nikole, let's also talk about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's threats to oust House Speaker Johnson. To what extent will the Speaker's forthcoming appearance with former President Trump influence how this issue actually plays out?
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, Speaker Johnson told us that, he's not going to comment on the conversations he intends to have with the former president today when we asked whether or not he would raise this issue of the motion to vacate, because, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene is a critical ally of the former president as well. But he continues to defend his actions and also continues to call Marjorie Taylor Greene a friend. He has even gone so far as to offer her a kitchen cabinet type advisory role so that she kind of has a voice and direct line into the Speaker, something that Greene says she is still kind of taking a look at and considering. But really the thrust of this appearance today with the former president is around issues of election integrity, with the Speaker potentially expected to roll out some new legislation that would prohibit non-citizens from being able to vote, although there are already laws on the books to deal with that. But take a listen to what he told us on that front earlier today.
Congress has a role with regard to federal elections. We want to make absolutely certain that anybody votes is actually an American citizen. And in some states, it's too easy. You just check a box and you can vote. So we need to make sure that federal law is clear on that matter and make sure that we actually have election integrity, because it's the biggest concern of the American people right now.
So again, for the most part, non-citizens are already barred from voting in our elections. But that being said, it will be an interesting appearance today on the part of the Speaker, who was very critical in helping the former president challenge the 2020 election, which the former president still contends was stolen.
All right, Nikole Killion reporting for us from Capitol Hill. Nikole, thank you.
You bet.